Now, I know when you saw the title of the video, you'll be like, Edwin, what are you talking about? What do you mean by AI automations are dead, right? Okay, let me explain in this video. So, as you probably know, a lot of the AI automation solutions actually revolve around pretty much like three types of solutions. Understand it? You've got the AI chatbot solutions, which are more chat-based, like voice flow agents, and you've got more the voice-based agents, so something like Vappy, Retail, even voice flow, most of the voice AI stuff. And you've got the other thing, which is the automation workflow, right? So something like, for example, here, make.com or NTN, N8N to automate some of the backend. So as you know, probably in make.com, you would just build your backend by having a webhook, right? And it's gonna trigger some sort of Google Sheets to populate Google Sheets, etc. Right? Whatever you want to do, it's like a backend, right? Now, what if I tell you that right now there's a way where you can just use English and it will create the workflow itself? So having an AI to create these kind of automation workflow itself, it sounds insane, right? Well, let me actually show you how you do it. Within make.com, all you have to do is if you hover over this new canvas, if you go to the bottom right and you click on AI, now you can actually talk to the AI. Like, I'm here to help you create powerful scenarios and automate your workflows, whether you need existing generating new scenario, crafting content, or exploring examples to get started. I'm ready to assist. How can I help you today? So now you can just talk to it like a normal human being in English, and it will build the scenario. Now, obviously, within make.com, there's a limit. As you can see, there's 30 credits, and the remaining 27 out of the 30 credits, right? So you can upgrade your plans to kind of play on these credits, but then for now, let's just start it. Let's just build a scenario. Build me a scenario that will convert Word files from Google Drive to PDF using pdf.co and upload them back to Google Drive. Right? Pretty simple. And now if you just click send, it will now go ahead and actually create the agent. It might sound like magic, right? I'm going to tell you why it's possible, and I'm going to tell you how likely how it's actually generated under the hood. So you can see it said I've created a scenario that will retrieve Word files from Google Drive, convert the retrieved Word files to PDF using pdf.co, upload the converted PDFs back to Google Drive. The setup will automate the entire process seamlessly. As the next step, you can run the scenario to see it in action, or let me know if you need any additional modifications or mappings, right? So here, actually, you can literally like, type in the words and they will create the workflow for you. And all you have to do is configure your Google Drive accounts, you know, and do all the settings, but it will go ahead and structure the skeleton of the flow for you. So now let's say I actually want a scenario where the PDF are then uploaded into OpenAI knowledge base. I then would like to query the OpenAI assistant to generate a response. Right. So now it's typing in a standard, you upload the document, you convert to PDF, and you want to upload the file into knowledge base, and you create a chat completion through the OpenAI API, which is actually what's going on behind the scene, and it will then generate a response to you, right? Let's say you want to query something from the document, right? So now it can retrieve web files from Google Drive, and since the upload query from OpenAI are not supporting the current setup, we cannot complete the scenario. Now, because there's no function called knowledge base within make.com, right? It's called upload file. If you go to OpenAI and you go to OpenAI, there's no like knowledge base, right? It's called upload file. That's what make.com like make the function looks like. So even though it responds like it couldn't do it, it actually create exactly what I want. So you can see the power of this kind of text to make.com files. text to automation workflow where you put in natural language, you put in the prompt. Obviously, you would need to use to create more powerful workflows. You would need to create more powerful um, workflows, and yeah, you would need better prompt engineering techniques essentially. And you can also do other things within it. For example, if you go to the AI, you can go back to error bugging, right? Can you error bug? So if let's say I haven't entered the detail and I try to run it, it will create an error, right? Obviously, because I haven't get my connect to my account. So can you error bug this flow? So it's almost like for those of you who's been using things like Cursor or Windsurf, you would know that this looks exactly like what we call vibe coding, like a coding assistant in your IDE, but instead of coding, it's an assistant for creating these automation workflows. Include the following announcement: upload add a module to convert to okay. Well, it's actually for in this case, it's actually not catching the bug, which is I haven't connected to the Google Drive, but like it's still in beta, right? So it's not perfect. But like if you actually do the prompt properly, and once it's out of beta, this will be an extremely powerful tool where you can just type in a prompt and it will create this automation workflow for you, right? So let me explain two things in this. Right. One, you might be curious, Edwin, how the hell does it do that? Well, it's actually not that complicated, to be honest, if you actually understand what's going on behind the scene. So with these all kind of make.com workflow, whether it's NAN, make.com, you've got these automation workflows. What they really are behind the scene is that they are actually all just JSON objects. Because let me show you what I meant. Now, if I click on more, and then click on Explore Blueprint, you will see I got an empty integration blueprint.json, right? So it's in a data format, it's a JSON. Now, if I click on it, it will open up my Visual Studio Code, and you will see all this code, right? It's actually just a JSON object. You got the name, you got the flow, you got the ID, module, version, mapper, metadata. So you got the XY coordinates, which actually shows where in the canvas in Mac.com it actually is, right? You've got they've created, you've got all these different node ID. These, don't worry too much like the exact details, but what this is literally what the automation workflow behind the scene actually look like, right? Because the make.com and NAM make it easy for you to actually just visually do this drag and drop automation workflow, but the code behind it is literally just a JSON object. Now, once you understand that, it actually becomes easy, like to understand how it works. One thing to remember is that AI is very good at generating JSON objects because actually some of the LM models were actually trained using JSON and some were using XMLs, but like that's another story. The fact is, what this really is, this AI assistant, is simply a text to JSON agent. Like it's like your coding assistant where you go to like Windsurf or like Cursor, you type in English, you output Python or JavaScript, right? It's literally the same, but it's JSON. So essentially all this is a very long way of saying it's literally just a coding assistant at the end of the day. So it's nothing fancy, right? You may seem like magic, but it's actually not nothing fancy at all. Like so, but the point then becomes, Edwin, does that mean that well, business owners will just be able to, use this function and they don't need AI automations, people anymore, right? Because business owner can just type in here, write in some English, and then magic, right? The flow then becomes complete. Does that mean that all the AI agencies are going to extinct forever? Now, I won't say so. Now, the reason is this because, sure, for simple workflows, you can just put in a prompt and you will get this kind of workflow. But in real business applications, things are rarely that straightforward, right? This is just what is this like? This is just for demonstration purposes. Like nobody in the real world actually uses, right? Well, okay, I can't make that claim. I would say that most businesses, like the builds that you want to build for businesses anyway, they won't be asking for this kind of builds. What they're probably looking for is some sort of like almost more to production ready builds. They're more nuanced, more complicated. For example, this is a build where don't do much about it. It's literally a backend for a um, AI receptionist for AI voice agent, where it's actually handling all the appointment bookings, schedule, reschedule, and cancel appointments automatically through a phone call with the user, as well as basically confirming the details of the user by sending them an SMS link so they can type in when during the phone call on their phone in the SMS to confirm the name, email, and phone number, because those are really hard to get it right on the phone call. I mean, if you have a, if you call your dentist, right, they always ask you for your for your name, for your email, for your phone number. It's actually very hard to to get the exact like numbers and the emails right, right? But you need to a lot of back and forth, even with a human. So with an AI voice caller, it's even harder. So that's why we do this kind of back and forth with the SMS. But again, that's not the point. The point is something like this will be extremely difficult to get it exactly right by the assistant, here. Like, how would you even prompt something like this that's not linear? Because something like this is linear, right? It's just step one, step two, step three, step four, step five, step six, right? Something like this is not necessarily linear. It has multiple edge cases. Like, I haven't even added in like error handling in here, right? Like in production ready like business applications, workflows are non-linear, um, and they have lots of different business edge cases, special situations, error handling. All this stuff is where the assistant cannot replace. Like, we still need the builder like us who understands this orchestration logic, who understand the business logic and also the automation workflow logic in order to build the systems, right? I mean, cool, sure, it's the same scenario with like vibe coding. You know how people call like, oh, vibe coding is like it's gonna replace all the developers, and it's gonna be the nobody needs to code anymore. Like, it's rubbish, right? I mean, obviously, like, you still need to know basic software engineering in order to obviously deliver coding projects. It's not like some strangers on the street who doesn't know a thing about Python and data structures and arrays and stuff and dictionaries, and they're just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to learn how to code by I'm just going to code this project by just typing English in the vibe coding assistant in GitHub, right? No, it doesn't work like that, right? Like, there's a limit where they can go. Sure, like, you can probably make a good MVP, like, for like from like an afternoon, but like for production ready business applications, it's not going to work, right? You still need someone who understand this more advanced software engineering principles. So it works exactly the same with these kind of assistants, automation workflow assistants, where it's 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 not like you can just type in a sentence and boom, like a production ready application is there. You still need us to meet it. So am I gonna say like automation workflows like are gonna get replaced by this kind of assistance? No, I don't think so. I think at least for not for the next 2 years, 1 year or 2 years, at least not for the next year. Like, you still need people like us who understand the orchestration logic to do this. Same with some of the voice agents and some of the chat agent. It's it's very difficult to even like, how would you do that? Like, you have an assistant and you like Vapi, for example, like, or retail, like, how do you like replace it? You can't really, right? So I don't really have like a fear that this AI automation is going to be gone. It's actually going to help us, if anything, to actually work on this prototype faster so that we can actually focus on tweaking this specific business logic. Anyway, I'll stop whining and stop speaking a lot of nonsense now. So I'm going to see you in the next one, but just a quick video, kind of let you know about the current situations, especially with regards to automation workflows. See you in the next one.